Welcome back to another episode of Unpacking Life with the box and the basket. Where's your basket? There it is. So today we're going to be talking about communication and the immense power that communication has, good and bad. So we communicate all the time, right? We're communicating now. Do you think what affects our relationship more, good or bad communication?
Bad.
You think
so?
Wow. Yeah. Think about it.
Good communication, I feel, can put you like 10 steps forward. And bad communication,
11 steps back.
No, like, if that were the case, then we would be divorced. I said
Can't
the D word.
That.
I know,
naughty.
But don't you agree?
No, I would never divorce you. Unless you cheat on me, then you're gone.
I think that good communication can take you further and make your relationship better.
Here we go, drunk Vanessa showed up.
Bad communication can damage your relationship.
So you think good communication has more effect on a relationship?
Yeah. Because I think like there's instances where I could give you several bad communication things that happen throughout the day, week, months, years. But then in a relationship, because you're with that person for so long, the good communications take you much further because you can like address all the little bad stuff in a big powwow.
Oh, okay. Before we get into it, though, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate y'all watching, listening, however you're getting our content.
Yep. Do you not agree?
It's hard. Because I feel like...
I'm going to Google it. Keep talking.
I feel like, obviously, having good communication in a relationship is beneficial for both parties. Having bad communication also affects the relationship. I feel like bad communication affects a relationship more in a negative sense than good communication does in a good sense. I
guess you're right.
You know? And then it comes to like our relationship where I'm a great, amazing communicator and you're not.
You're the worst. You're the worst communicator.
All right. That's fair sometimes.
How you go from you're the best to, okay, that's fair. Like immediately.
I was joking, saying it reverse. Because I know I'm a bad communicator sometimes.
Okay, good.
I can articulate my thoughts well. I think it's just the act of getting my thoughts out that I have an issue with.
Moving you from a nothing box to a talking box?
Oh, God, yeah. You have to catch me on the
Do you want to explain what a nothing box is for those of you who don't know?
So for all the men out there and women, for everybody, when your boyfriend, husband, significant other, that's a male predominantly, is sitting there and they're just watching TV or just on their phone like this. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, nothing. That means that they're in their nothing box. So men have boxes in their brains and they can only be in one box at a time. And women have baskets, hence the box in the basket. And women load everything in their basket. So that's why when they're telling you a story, they're unloading their basket. And they're like, oh, and I told you, about the neighbor. She was screwing her lawn guy. And then did I tell you at the grocery store? Yeah, none of our neighbors. And then at the grocery store, there was this weird dude asking for money for, three-legged dogs or something. And it goes into how the milk was expensive and gas last week was crazy. It's because they're unloading their basket and like all these topics is just dumping out. So my favorite box is my nothing box, especially during the football season.
Yeah, so moving him from a nothing box to a talking box.
Conversation box, yeah. It's tough.
I'm just going to start pretending when I have an issue with you that we're recording a podcast and then you have to talk because then you get like in your podcast box, which is / talking.
Just toss me a mic. Like, here, let's
talk.
have a conversation.
Yeah.
So what'd you find on Dr. Google?
Nothing good.
No?
Obviously, positive communication helps make your life easier, teams more efficient, your company more productive. Ineffective communication can lead to many misunderstandings, disagreements. This can include making mistakes or completing tasks incorrectly. It's like mostly in the workplace.
No.
But I'm not going to find the answer that I want because Google's like, why are you asking me this?
I don't know.
But I think communication is important in relationships, with
Very
your
important.
kids,
Especially your kids.
with your friends, in your workplace, like everywhere. Communication is important.
Yeah.
You were a very good communicator when you were a cop.
Yeah, because I had to be. And then once I left, I was like, brains off. I'm in box mode. Nothing box mode. But it's just, I feel like you have to have similar or at least knowledge of each other's like communication styles. Right?
Yeah.
Because me, I'm like, I'm straight to the point. I'm a problem solver. Like, let's get this shit done and move on. And you want to talk about how it made you feel and how you want me to acknowledge how it made you feel and apologize for making you feel that way when that, even if it wasn't my intention. Am I onto something here?
No.
No?
Because you know how I communicate, right? And the things that make me tick and don't tick. So you shouldn't be apologizing. You shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
Oh, okay. Same for you. Huh.
Well, you just want to be left alone all the time. You're like a single person in a marriage.
You can
Except that you don't do single things.
Just hang in the vents. Like, you can keep an eye on me. Just,
I'm so
I don't want to
sick
see
of you. But no. So, like, obviously it's important in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think probably besides money and, like, infidelity, probably, communication is, like, the top 3, I would say, of why relationships fail. Because
I'd say it's like the top. Just because
the cheating could happen if you don't communicate.
And then the whole money thing, like, people don't talk about their finances and stuff. We've talked about it before. Or, like, they don't communicate with each other about finances and money. So, like, if you
maybe it's like the culprit of everything.
Yeah. It's like the underlying issue for every relationship.
Probably.
Lack of communication. Over communicating.
I don't think over communicating could be a thing.
Oh, it is.
How?
When I want to be left alone and you just want to talk. And then by the time I'm like, you're like, can you talk to me? I'm like, oh yeah, what?
I hate you.
That's over communicating. When you see me zone out.
That's awareness of your partner, I feel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Over communicating. But I think communicating is like the root of everything. Because if you, like, I feel like we have good communication in our relationship. Like, we can talk about just about anything. Don't roll your damn eyes. You don't think so?
Yeah, for the most part. When you want to communicate.
Which is all the time.
Okay.
Speak your piece.
Continue.
Come on, woman. You don't think we have good communication?
We do. We've gotten better on it.
Yeah.
But there's different communication styles. There's different, like, some people need time. Some people need to collect their thoughts. Some people are quicker. What?
Nothing.
You do that to me all the time where you're like, well, give me an answer. And I'm like, well, just give me a minute. Or just let me, like, think in my head.
I'm hungry now, so hurry up.
I think it's important that you're aware of how your partner communicates, or even people in your workplace. A lot of times when we have new clients, we ask them, like, what is your preferred way of communication? Like, do you
Yeah.
like a phone call? Do you like text? Do you like emails? And then, I mean, we get a feel for how they communicate. Like if they're oversharing, if they're talking a lot, or if they're super quiet. Like, just be aware,
Yeah.
I guess, of how.
Like our Les Bros. At the beginning, they were like, over communicating is great.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like every day I would send them a message or something to
Yeah.
keep them in the loop about everything.
Right. So just in the workplace, I mean, that's now you're dealing with your money and your, you know,
Yeah.
your own business sometimes or other people's business. And I think communication there, I mean, it's not more important because obviously, I mean, sometimes it is, but that's like the next important area, I would say, is your workplace and then at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when I was with the PD, it was like really important just to communicate like the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause especially like on the radio, they always tell you to like limit your chat on the radio, and depending on like what was going on, if it's like a big incident, you have a lot of cops that are on the same channel.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have like a cop fighting somebody, and they'll just get on the air and they ask for, it's called a code 1.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically, nothing else on that radio channel is allowed except for anything that involves that call. And then you'll get these freaking idiots, usually new cops, where they're on a different call or something, and they key up on the radio. They're like, hey, put me on that call. Put me on that call. Put me on the call. Put me on the call. So you have like 10 cops asking, put me on that call. And it takes up all this radio time where dispatch, if they're like trying to listen for the cop that's getting in a fight, like, hey, I just shot this dude, or hey, this dude got my gun, or something important needs to come over the radio, they can't because these people are, over communicating on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, that's like an extreme example.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But in the workplace, like, it's very important. Even when I worked in an office, I mean, I did auto claims for a little bit. Mm-hmm. So just talking to people about their claims and communicating where we were in the process made a world of difference. Just because some people would like keep it to themselves, or they would follow up like once a month, and then those people would be calling in all the time. Hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? So just explaining that process and keeping them.
I think in like customer service things, it's like generally more important to over communicate than not, except in like few instances where like if we have an issue sometimes with a client or like a roadblock, sometimes I don't communicate right away. Like I'll communicate with them and tell them what they need to know.
Right.
But then if there's like an issue and I don't have an answer for them yet, then I don't tell them about it until I have an answer. Mm-hmm. Or if I can't get an answer, then I tell them like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what we're up against. I tried to find several solutions. I can't. What can we do?
Yeah.
Because I feel like also you don't want to communicate
just the problems.
Yeah, without a solution.
Yeah.
Especially like in the workplace, like in a relationship, I feel like you should be able to communicate problems even if you don't want a solution, which you don't know how to do. You don't know how to just let me tell you something without you solving the problem.
That is
like
not
if
true.
I bitch about a friend, you're like, okay, well just drop her as a friend. I'm like, that's not what I want.
But then when you come and tell me and I just listen, you're like, are you even listening? And I'm like, I am. What do you want me to say?
Husbands are not good gossipers.
I
want you to be like, no way. Like, I need a reaction.
Stuff just doesn't shock me.
I know.
Unless it's like wild.
Yeah, there's been a few wild ones in the last few months, I feel like.
Yeah.
We can't tell you guys.
I'll tell you later.
In like maybe 10 years with anonymous names. Ooh. But back to relationships, I feel like when we've had issues, it could have been solved with communication. When I've had friends that have had issues, it could have been solved with communication. Yeah. But a lot of people don't know how to communicate their feelings or like their problems effectively without making the other person like defensive.
Yeah.
And like without sounding like a jerk. So then a lot of people just go in circles.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we learned in like therapy. Like, don't use absolutes like, you never help me. You're always lazy.
Mm-hmm.
You're always an asshole.
Okay. I feel a little attacked there.
I'm not talking about you specifically.
No, okay.
And no, I always say sometimes. Sometimes you're an asshole. But there's so many things to learn about, and there's books and podcasts, and I mean, we could probably talk about different communication styles and problem solving, whatever, for hours and hours.
Yeah.
But I think it's just important to be aware, and like if you're communicating something to someone, and they're not like getting it, then maybe take a step back and say it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Or try to say it from a place of just like facts about how it's impacting you and not like projecting onto them.
Yeah. I think that was my biggest thing, trying to learn how to argue fairly, I guess.
For sure.
Stop. It's like, I hate texting when we argue. I hate it. Because I know you're not understanding it how I'm sending it.
For me, it's a hostile
every time
environment.
Really and like, I guess what I mean by arguing fairly, it's like that I'm not trying to attack you. I'm not trying to like push my point on you. I'm just trying to tell you like how I felt at the time and what I was experiencing during that argument. And I feel like your way is, this is why you're wrong.
We've gotten better. But, I mean, you have to focus on, like, explaining your point of view.
Yeah. And
not, like, I'm trying to think of an example. I can probably go back to some of my rage texts to you and find some good ones. But, like, if I just tell you, I need more help, it's better than saying, you never help me.
Yeah.
And really, it's the same problem, right? Like if I'm overwhelmed and I need something, I could say it in several different ways.
Right.
Me saying, you never help me, explosion. Mild explosion, okay? Explosion for us. Don't get carried away with your comments and your little, you're not going to last. I want to say something really mean. But me saying, I just need more help, I'm overwhelmed, is going to go over easier with you.
Yeah.
Almost anyone, then you never help me.
Yeah, because when you say, you never help me, I'm like, never? All right. I'm not going to do shit for a week. Let's see how that makes you feel. I'm just going to sit my ass right here on this couch.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do anything. And then we'll see how much
you
help you
that.
actually got.
You're so spiteful.
I'll do it. It only lasts like 20 minutes. Because then you get tired of it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean never.
What I meant to say was this. But yeah, so I think in any relationship that you have with your friends, your kids, your parents, your partner, whatever, if something's not coming, first of all, don't ever argue. Like if you're already still pissed, just give it a minute.
I
have a big problem with that.
Oh yeah.
The next morning, when we argue, it sounds like we argue every day. We don't.
Every other day.
Stop it right now.
We don't say absolute most days.
Here we go with the comments again. They're not going to last. Anyway, so you shouldn't argue. You shouldn't talk when you're still mad.
You need a cooling off period.
Yeah. But I want to address it like right now. But usually what happens, like, I go down my negative narrative. And there are many things stored about you. many things. And I just pick them all up and throw them at you. And then the next morning I feel fine. I'm like, what happened?
Like a hangover?
Yeah. So try not to talk about things when you're like heated in the moment, because you're not going to think clearly. You're like in a spiral that you want to get out of before you talk about it, because you might say something that you regret. Not that I ever have, but.
We're just going to be lying to everybody? Okay.
And
I've done before, like when you get into your texting back and forth,
mm-hmm.
I'll type up an entire message of like my initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, I'm going to read this again in like 5 minutes before I send it. And then I'm like reading halfway through it after I've like cooled down a little bit. And I'm like, this is probably going to keep this shit going for a while. Like, select all, delete.
Yeah. So I think just think about it first.
Yeah.
And if you're not
think
getting
before
somewhere,
you speak. It's such a simple thing. They tell it to kids all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Think before you speak.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes as adults we have trouble doing that.
Have a very hard time doing that.
So I guess that's my advice. Just it's like those funny they have like videos of like people texting,
mm-hmm.
like just a screen recording, and they're like you were an asshole tonight, and then they start typing, I can't stand you, you're a piece of shit, blah 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 blah. They start going off, and then they stop, and then they delete everything, and then they're like, I'm sorry. Like, don't send your first thoughts, because your first thoughts are usually like the mean ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then consider it, like I've done it a few times where I'm like, this is so dumb. Why are we arguing about this?
Mm-hmm.
I can apologize.
It's usually so dumb.
Like, I can apologize for this. Like,
pick your battles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not gonna hurt my pride by apologizing to my wife
Mm-hmm.
that I love so much.
As you should. But I think it's like it's controversial. I think it's important. I like had this whole thought spew out of my brain to communicate, and like a lot of people say don't argue in front of your kids, and we do. Like, we don't like yell
Mm-hmm.
or like go crazy or call each other names, but like we have disagreements, I guess you would call it, in front of the kids, and then we take a little bit and then we come back together and we talk about it, or we talk about it right there, or we try to work it out. Because I feel like it's important to show your kids good relationships and like be a good example, but to show that
there's conflict.
There's conflict in relationships, and it's not like how it is on the Hallmark Channel, how you just fall in love and it's like a Disney movie or whatever. Yeah. And that you're going to be wrong and other people are going to be wrong, and you have to talk about it and be open to communicating and admitting that you're wrong, so that they can see, like, okay, like if I have an issue with a friend, I can talk to them about it. If I have an issue later in life, I just don't want to be setting an example that everything's perfect all the time and that's how it should be, because it's not.
Yeah.
Anybody that says it's always perfect and they don't have any issues, they're like
damn liars.
That's not possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think we don't make it a point to argue in front of kids, our kids, but I mean, we have disagreements. We do argue. Nothing, like Vanessa said, like nothing crazy yet. And
your face.
But it's good for them to see that conflict. Like when they grow up, they can say, you know, my mom and my dad have been together for 30 years, and they used to argue all the time, but they always made up, and they've never.
Not all the time. They used to argue. Period.
But you know how kids are.
Yeah.
And to them, it's all the time.
Yeah.
But just to give them exposure into their future relationships when they get into an argument, so they're not saying, my mom and dad, they never argued. Yeah, like, why are we arguing? So it's good for them to see that too.
Obviously, like, there have been times where we're mad at each other about something, and we don't talk about it because it's like a topic that should not be discussed in front of kids. Right. Like, they can't grasp it, but little disagreements and stuff like that, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like, we don't. And then other things we do hide from them, or not. Like, we just wait till they go to bed and then we talk about it, because it has to be appropriate, you know? Like, anyway.
Those are the big ones where Vanessa wants to say something. naughty words.
It's not true. So I think...
What do you think?
I don't know. Communication is important.
Yeah, that really is. I think
Yeah.
it's the base to everything that you're going to deal with, right? Because you got to talk to people. You got to communicate what you want, communicate what you don't want, especially in business. If you're running your own business, you got to know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
So,
Like, I love when new people try to, like, solicit business from us, like lenders and stuff. And I'm like, well, I know how to communicate what's important to me and how I want things to go. And I think a lot of people forget that in relationships. Like, I've had in the past, like, girlfriends complain to me, well, he didn't do this and he didn't do this. I'm like, did you tell him? Well, no. I'm like, why are you laying him traps?
Yeah.
Well, he should know that I want this. I'm like, how does he know? He doesn't know. He's a man. He definitely doesn't know.
Yeah, no.
You need to say it. And then
Plain
I've
English,
done
please.
that so many times where for years I would be like, well, if you love me, you would do this. And like, you expect the other person to be in, okay, enough with the nodding of the head. You expect the other person to be in your head and anticipate your needs and what you want.
Yeah.
Because you think that's the way that they're going to show you that they love you.
Right.
But really, you're setting them a trap. You're setting them a trap of like, I want him to do this, but if he doesn't, then I'm going to be mad. And he has no idea you want him to do
I'm going to lay on my stomach so she rubs my back. Oh, she doesn't rub my back. Oh, I
I'm
guess
pissed.
she don't love me.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's a small example, but you
Yeah.
have to communicate your needs, especially if you're not happy. And if you can't figure it out, I think it's a great idea to go to therapy, like
Do
we've
it.
said
Highly
before.
recommend it. We're going next week.
Are we? Did you schedule it?
No, did you?
No.
I thought we were.
Oh, Beth. Poor lady. So.
But it's good. So let us know about your favorite communication methods, styles. Let us know in the comments.
Your communication problems, how things have fallen apart
Yeah.
for you.
All the dramas, please.
Yes, we want to hear
And
it.
we're not going anywhere. We'll be together forever and ever and ever. So one of us dies. Hopefully it's me before her.
Okay.
Anyways,
That's
we
another
appreciate y'all watching, listening. However you're getting our content. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.